Own sweet home, own sweet home. I dream of my own sweet home. Right here, right now. Amit Inamdar will show you how. Call Amit and you are set. Or just visit ownsweethome.net.
DRE license number 0135552 and NMLS number 236574.
Hello, Namaste, welcome Radio Zindagi listeners. Today we have another exciting show with Amit Inamdar. I am RJ Renuka. So you are going to get the power-packed 30 minutes of information on real estate contingencies and how they protect you. We always welcome you to call us at 510-270-8830 to ask a question on the radio. However, if you are unable to get in, you can always submit a question for a personal response. Just go to Amit's website, ownsweethome.net, and click on the radio show link to submit your question. And you can always find Amit Inamdar just by searching his name on Google. Hello Amit and welcome to the show.
Hello Renuka, how are you today? And hello friends, welcome to the show Own Sweet Home, Power Hour with me, Amit Inamdar. Home buyers and home sellers need to familiarize themselves with contingency clauses. They are not only used to protect you, however, they can be used as a good negotiations tool. Using them as a negotiations tool is a skill I use to effectively negotiate the terms and sometimes the price of the home. Other times they are just used to protect the buyer and seller interests. A contingency is a future event or circumstance that is possible but cannot be predicted with certainty. I look at contingency as a condition in a real estate contract. Typically, when you buy goods from a store, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. It is difficult to return the house. Actually, you have to return the owner back to the house because house cannot be moved. Therefore, when you get into a contract, you can investigate the home condition during your contingency period. This allows you to evaluate the home condition and also allows you to make sure it fits all your needs and wants.
Amit, isn't it the word contingencies that is forgotten in today's real estate market, that has high demand and very limited supply of homes?
Right,
especially
absolutely.
in Bay Area.
Absolutely. People are not worried about contingencies nowadays. I remember of this song, Gori ho kali ho ya nakhre wali ho choti si dulhan dila de, वैसा हो गया इस मार्केट में. इस मार्केट में घर छोटा हो या बड़ा हो,
you have to look at how the Michael is smiling.
Michael is actually adjusting the board here and he just cannot stop dancing right now. Okay, all right, Michael. I'm glad I made your day. Okay, I mean in last 2 years. All right, so the thing is, no contingencies, just give me the house. That's how the thing is, and the word contingencies has been forgotten. However, when seller doesn't give you everything, of course you can have those contingencies in there, and that's exactly the reason for today's show. The word contingencies is a forgotten word. There are tons of blogs online about how to get your offer accepted. That means have no contingencies and buy the home as is and its present condition. And many sellers will do upfront inspections and seller disclosures so that buyer can be given comfort level or no backout clause, basically, about the property condition, and or they may get a discomfort even though they get into the house, knowing that there are costs involved when they get into the home and move into the home. It's all about you knowing what you are getting into when you are buying the home.
So listeners, Amit's first time home buyer webinar is a very good resource to understand the real estate contracts and related contingencies. You can view this webinar on Amit's website, ownsweethome.net, that is OWN, The link is located as an image on the left column. So to get to Amit's website, you know what to do. Just Google Amit Inamdar, real estate broker, and you will know ways to find him. So Amit, let's get back to the contingencies. What kind of contingencies exist in the real estate contract?
Alright. To understand the impact of contingencies, it is necessary to know that when you make an offer on a home, you typically deposit 3% of the home price as a deposit towards the home purchase. And this deposit basically says to the seller that, hey, I'm a serious buyer and I'm willing to risk my 3% deposit in case I default on the contract. So protecting your deposit as a buyer is important, and contingencies protect your deposit as well as a wrong purchase from future unforeseen events. Typically, contingencies buyer may have are like, say, loan contingency, appraisal contingency, and the investigation contingency. Typically, this is called inspection contingency. I like to call it an investigation contingency. And those investigation contingencies will also include the seller disclosure contingency, other disclosure contingencies like a title report, or even a contingency to sell the buyer's current home contingency. They cannot buy another home because they need the proceeds from the existing home sale to buy the other home that they are planning to purchase, the bigger, better home. So on investment properties like, for example, multiplexes, we put contingency to view the property by the buyer. So offer gets accepted even before you look at the investment property. Imagine you are renting a home and every few minutes somebody is coming in to see the home. I mean, as a tenant, you would not like that. And in the multiplexes, there are like 4 or 5 or more people who are renting that particular multiplex or even more, and you can just go and view every unit and disturb every tenant, and that's where you write a contingency to once your offer is accepted to actually you liking the property after you view it. So those are the kind of contingencies you can have. Even sellers can have contingency. Like sellers will say, hey, this market, I mean, I'm going to sell my home, but I need to buy another home, so I have to have a contingency to finding a new home, and buyer should provide me a rent back until I find such kind of a home.
So listeners, you are listening to Power Hour with Amit Inamdar. Today's topic is real estate contingencies and how they protect you, buyer or the seller. So if you have any questions regarding real estate loans or today's topic, give us a call in the studio 510-270-8830, 270-8830. So understand, Amit, there are a lot of different contingencies in contract. What do they mean actually?
All right. Okay. So in the layman's term, right? Okay. So a loan contingency means, say you buy a home, you say, I'm going to buy this home provided my loan is going to approve. Okay. Imagine a situation where you are so confident with all these free credit scores that you get that your loan is going to get approved, and you don't have that as a condition to the home purchase because you say, oh, my score is 800 and above. I did that because my company does it, or my credit card company does it, or I went to freescore.com and all that. And when the actual time comes to get your loan done, your credit score drops, and for unforeseen reason, your loan is not approved. Okay, and if you don't have a loan contingency, then your 3% deposit can be taken by the seller as liquidated damages. Okay, so you lose your deposit basically. When I represent buyer, I'm very, very protective of my clients. I remember a situation where on the 25th day of the contract, buyer got laid off from the job. Lucky for my buyer, I had delayed the removal of loan contingency for one reason or the other, because the buyer had informed me of possibility of layoffs in their company. Of course, the buyer got his deposit back. Seller was really upset since 25 days of marketing time was wasted, and he had to start with a new buyer, and before that he even had to market the property again. It goes long ways to talk about the agent who represented the seller who was not on top of things when buyer was required to perform. So it can protect one party and hurt another. Another situation, maybe the seller has a contingency in the contract and he must find a home he likes, otherwise the sale will not get completed. In this situation, if seller cannot find the home in the predetermined time period, all efforts by the buyer, including the money spent on inspection, appraisal, and home buying process, the costs that are involved will be lost. So one party wins, one party loses, right, in these situations.
So very, very interesting, Amit. You also mentioned about appraisal contingency. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. See, the thing is, the appraisal contingency basically states that unless the home appraises at the value you are paying, you are not going to buy the home. Okay. Just last month, okay, I used this to reduce the home price the buyer was willing to pay. We reduced the purchase price by over $30,000. This requires carefully crafting the purchase contract so other party cannot suspect your intentions. Another reason the appraisal contingency becomes important is when the lender is approving your loan. Just because you chose to pay $50,000 above the asking price, or that's where the appraiser came in at, for example, at the asking price, does not mean the lender will give you the loan for that extra amount. If the home appraised is $50,000 lower, then the 80% loan is based on that appraised value. You have to pay the difference as the buyer. And if the seller refuses to lower the price, then you have no option to but to back out and based on your appraisal contingency. And if you don't have that, then you lose your money, right? Basically at that point. And imagine a frustration one has to go through when your dream home slips away.
Yeah, and you have already lost money on the inspections and the appraisal also.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Just for making wrong decisions the way they get made sometimes.
Wow, that must be very devastating for the family to lose their dream home.
Right, absolutely. We have a call coming in, so let's take that call. Hello, Own Sweet Home. This is Amit. Who am I talking to?
Yeah, hi. This is Manjeet.
Oh, hi, Manjeet.
Yes.
Hi, how can I help, Manjeet?
So I think this is not today's topic. Obviously, it doesn't pertain to that, but I think this was yesterday. You were mentioning. So right now, I am looking into. I will be a first-time home buyer,
mm-hmm.
and I do have 20% of the down payment that I want to put down.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm also in a situation where I need to get a car. So I just wanted to get some tips from you, perhaps, on what would be the best way where to make my investment. Obviously, I need the car, and I don't want to finance it or have any loan on my research.
Right. Yeah. So the thing is, if you have a 20% down payment, say on $1 million home, that means you are around $200,000, for example. And if you decide to put, say, $20,000 to buy a car, then you are going to have less than 20% down. Now the question becomes, are you willing to go that with a loan that may have a slightly higher interest rate, and your loan to value ratio is going to be maybe less than or more than 80%, and there are loans available. So sometimes, if you have limited funds which you have to use, I have a client who is going to school and he wants to pay the tuition next month, and the tuition basically is going to be $8,000. And the tuition is $8,000, he uses that money today, what happens? And the whole thing is there a loan program available to still buy a home based on the remaining money? And in your case, there will be, assuming all other parameters fall in place, including your credit score and other things, and you will be able to buy a home. Okay? And I know you got disconnected, but that's what the answer for your question is.
So Manjeet, if you want to get hold of Amit, you know what to do. Just Google Amit Inamdar, real estate broker, and you will find his website or Amit's contact information. There is a first-time home buyer webinar available on Amit's website, which is a very must webinar to watch for first-time home buyer or even for the second-time home buyers.
Absolutely, that is so true, Renuka.
Yep. So Amit, we were talking about how the buyers, they get very disappointed if they lose a home just because the appraisal did not work out.
Exactly. Appraisal or anything else for that matter, right? And look at it this way. They could have made a mistake of overpaying for the home, and if they did not have the appraisal contingency and their loan were to be rejected due to some low appraised value, they would have lost their even earnest money deposit in light of no contingencies in the contract. So let's talk about the inspection contingency now, or investigation contingency. So typically when you purchase a home, you want to sell a home, or even want to sell a home. You typically inspections you are going to do are property, termite, and roof inspections. And property inspection basically looks at the general property condition and check many aspects of the property, ranging from electrical, plumbing, HVAC system, chimney, and all that. They also look at leaks and check appliances such as dishwasher, garbage disposal, and also look at any unauthorized improvements. I remember last year one of the homes showed evidence of mold, and seller then basically we negotiated, so seller had to correct all the mold issues, and the remediation cost for the mold problem was over $12,000. Imagine buyer not having the inspection contingency and later realizing that toxic mold in his house was causing the health problems for his family. and that's worse than even spending that $12,000. You know how much agonizing it would be to have some health problems because of toxic mold in the house.
That is very serious, Amit. So does that mean that buyers should look at new homes?
Where are the new homes getting built, Renuka, right? See, well, they do have fewer issues. Let's kind of start with that, okay? So I'll give you that one. However, Bay Area new homes are close to freeways, they are close to railway lines, they are near the industrial areas, and not necessarily in the desirable school districts. The right thing to do is make sure you complete all evaluations of the home. If you do take the risk of accepting seller reports or as-is property conditions, you are aware of possible consequences. Then termite issues can be present also in a new home, for example, right? I remember one time the new home was constructed and the new wood member, had a hole in it where the insect was residing. So basically that insect was eating away the wood. So the thing is, just because
I remember that one, the guy had remodeled the whole house,
exactly,
and just one panel he kept from the old house, and
no, it wasn't from the old house. It was a new wood member, completely new wood member that had that. Okay, so the thing is, just because wood is sitting in a store doesn't mean it's a good wood. Okay, termites can attack there too if they kind of get a hold of it. So the thing is, just don't depend on something just because it looks new. Okay. So whether the home is old or new, inspection and contingencies are definitely a critical part of the home buying and selling process.
So Amit, how can one use the inspections as negotiation tool?
Right. See, if you have an inspection contingency in the contract, after you complete your evaluations, you have an ability to negotiate with the seller on correcting these deficiencies. You can also use the repair cost to reduce your purchase price or do repairs later by shopping around for lower bids, right, and save even more. However, you need to understand that sometimes lenders will require these repairs to be completed prior to owning the home. This lender-driven requirement also works really well to have the seller complete these repairs. However, one needs to know how to structure your purchase contract without seller suspecting your intentions.
So listeners, as you well know, Amit Inamdar is both a real estate and mortgage broker. To understand contingencies and also many questions you have as a first-time home buyer or even the upgrading buyer, do visit Amit's website ownsweethome.net, that is OWNsweethome.net, and register for the free first-time home buyer webinar. You will have all your questions answered, plus you will know about subject matter that you did not know that you did not know. Equipped with this information, you will have one-on-one meeting with Amit, a true power hour. So here you will get your pre-approval done and also neighborhood selection based on your family needs. So register today for the first time home buyer webinar, and yes, if you have any questions, studio number 510-270-8830, 270-8830. We are going to take a short break.
Have you joined the Happily Ever After Club?
Happily Ever After Club?
Happily Ever After Club. Membership is automatic once you buy your dream home from Amit Inamdar. He's both real estate and mortgage broker. One stop, no need to shop.
Oh, Amit Inamdar from Own Sweet Home.
Yes, that's Amit from OWN Own Sweet Home. Call him today, 510-364-6686. Again, 510-364-6686. Or visit ownsweethome.net. That is OWNOwnSweetHome.net. Number 0135552 and MLS 236574.
Welcome back, friends. This is Amit Inamdar, and if you are in the market to sell, buy or finance your home, you will get unbiased advice that will save you money, and that's my promise to you. To get hold of me, just Google my name, Amit Inamdar, real estate broker, and you will know ways to find me. Having all your questions answered at one location and by one person means saving time, money, and having peace of mind that you are being cared for by someone who knows this business. Today we are talking about protecting your purchases with contingencies.
So Amit, we talked about the buyer contingencies. How about some seller contingencies now?
Oh, seller contingencies. Okay. We did talk about little bit about seller contingencies.
Yes,
okay?
Buying, selling.
But see, the thing is, they have to find another house before they can sell this, and the other contingency can be, they have to maybe get some funds from some place before they can make the whole deal kind of happen. So they are looking at purchasing their new property, and they got to make sure, the sellers, that the proceeds from this house, from another place they are getting it, all those things fall in place to kind of make that happen. Those will be like seller contingencies for that matter. But then if you're talking about seller disclosures, that also affect the buyer contingencies, right? The investigations.
Yes.
And those are a bit different, right? So seller disclosures, so like we talked about the inspections, and the inspections give you the comfort on the property condition on the day the property was inspected. Okay, but you don't know what the running history of the home is. Consider a situation where seller kind of faces the sewage backup problem, and it doesn't happen every day, and did not happen on the day of inspections either, right? And every, say, 3 to 4 months it happens, and the seller spends anywhere from $400 plus to get it cleaned, and seller may be even helpful to providing you all the numbers for the clean out crew and all that. But as a buyer, you are actually committing to extra $1,600 worth of expense per year. Even if you have manual or automated sprinklers, they put additional cost or burden on you. Some of the vegetation may dry out because you don't know that you're supposed to water them manually, right? I mean, seller disclosures might have to say that. Even automated sprinklers can cause problems by overwatering the yard, making it muddy, or even you may get a fine in this drought-ridden climate, right? So for every aspect of the home, you will have those kind of issues. And so what we do is we prepare a comprehensive set and list of questions, and we send it to the sellers so they can fill it out, so the buyers can read them and make an informed decision. So if I'm representing the seller, I'll make sure all aspects of the properties are disclosed by the seller, so that any omissions do not come back to haunt them after the sale is completed.
But Amit, many sellers, before even marketing the home for sale, they paint their home, or they remodel, and home look really, really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
How does one even suspect that there are issues underneath?
Right. See, so just because the home is painted does not mean that's a good thing. Okay, the paint may hide watermarks or leaks that had happened on the wall for a short duration. However, over a period, any stains that were previously on the wall may kind of reappear. It is not always possible to find out everything that you want to know. However, with the questionnaire that we prepare and ask the seller to fill out by hand, or basically get their responses, the written responses, protects buyers for any hidden future defect that seller already knew. Some misdisclosures may be unintentional, and some may be intentional. So coming back to the issue of seller disclosures, what if there is a death in the property? Seller discloses that, let's say, and do you feel comfortable buying that home? Maybe it's worth knowing who died. What if it was a 95-year-old grandma? You may be okay because it's a natural course of life, right? What if that 95-year-old grandma was murdered? Your comfort level may change even irrespective of her age. So what if a young kid committed suicide, right? So it all matters to buyers, and it's my job to ask right questions to the sellers so they do not have liabilities, and also buyers have a peace of mind.
Amit, tell the listeners about the story that happened, a few years ago, where seller disclosed that there is no death in the property, and there was, and both seller and buyer were right.
Right. This is like a very tricky situation. How can there be a death, and how can both of them be right without not disclosing and all that, right? So I was representing the seller in this particular case, and we got a contract, got into a contract, and we had multiple offers, and we had prepared all the seller disclosures. And even though the disclosures indicated no death on the property in the past 3 years, buyer specifically asked that question again and again: is there a death in the property? I asked the buyer, why are they so concerned? They indicated that they drove by the property at 10:30 p.m. at night and saw the light inside the vacant property. Also, when they drove at 5 a.m. in front of the house, the lights were gone. So they were kind of concerned who was living in the property, right? So I checked with the seller. Our seller indicated that they had gone to the house to do some cleaning and all that. And buyer was satisfied with the answer. But I still asked the seller if there was a death in the property that he knows of any time. Seller said, yeah, there was a death in the property because of the drug overdose 5 years ago. And so here came the dilemma. the disclosures required to disclose like 3 years or prior or less, and there was a death in the property 5 years ago, and so should I disclose this to the buyer? I follow a rule in real estate: when in doubt, always disclose. So I indicated to the seller that I'm going to disclose this, and possibility that the buyer, when they moved in, the neighbors are going to talk about it, and the buyer will know about that anyway. So we disclosed. Of course, the buyer backed out because of their sensitivity to the issue. Property came back on the market, and we actually sold it at a higher price later on to another buyer with full disclosure, and previous buyer got his deposit back as they were well within their contingency period. So those are the things that basically come into play, and you have to be very careful about what happens. Even though law may say one thing, it's the buyer who is putting a lot of money up front, and you have to kind of disclose everything.
So any final thoughts, Amit?
Right. So for those of who enjoy my radio show, you can replay my archives of the show. Just go to my website, ownsweethome.net, and see that video blog section and look at podcast. If you are a seller, this is a great time to sell. Many times we forget to sell on a timely basis because we have good feelings about the increased valuations. If you are buying a second home and selling current, my loan and mortgage knowledge guides you in a direction to save you money. Homeowners who upgrade have a decision to make to sell first or to buy first. Do you qualify to buy both homes? If you are a first-time home buyer, decisions are relatively easy. However, whatever your situation is, call me and I will guide you. Thank you. Have a great weekend.